You are now live. Please unmute.
Microphones are now unmuted.
Comes for your information. I've had a house full of grandkids. I'm worn out.
So you want a long meeting? Yeah. Take a rest.
Good morning. Mr. O'Rourke, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, sir. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kramer. Present. Commissioner O'Rourke.
Present.
Commissioner Rackstrom.
Present.
Chairman Wessel.
Here.
Commissioner Ross.
Here.
Commissioner Almeyer.
Here.
Commissioner Lautner.
Present.
All present.
Thank you. And thank you to the public for attending. At this point in our agenda, we will take public comment. You have 3 minutes. There'll be a second opportunity at the end of the meeting for a 5-minute public comment. Please address your comments to the board, and we welcome you here and welcome you to speak. Anybody like to make public comment? Yes, Renee.
Good morning. How are you all? I am just here to give a legal notice regarding Fiddler Technologies and the report done by a special investigation done by or performed by Timothy Charles Holdsmith. And I know that you just renewed the Fiddler contract agreement, but I believe that you need to take notice of the special investigation entitled Fiddler Technologies not only possessing illegally transferred land deeds, Fiddler is providing election services to Dominion and vote by mail. And I don't know if we have paid them yet, but I believe that we should be looking at this investigation. And so I will give this to you because I trust you to make this public. And here is the information.
Thanks for
And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Morning. Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Thank you as usual for your help and your hard work and all the time you put in to help run our county efficiently and as effectively as possible. I appreciate that. I just had kind of a procedural type of question or two. In the past, recent past, I've been directing my questions about different procedures and whatnot to you guys generally. And I'm grateful for all the effort that Michelle has given us and the county administrator and the chairman. But I'm wondering if I'm supposed to be directing a lot of this to our district commissioner. So if you guys can guide us on that sort of thing, that'd be great. In particular, I'm asking for information, or we are asking for information. We want to be advised on where we can get all the information regarding our commissioners' pay, including all stipends and per diems for meetings. If you guys get paid for no matter how many meetings you have, do you get paid extra for that? So I'm looking for where is that in print? If it's in print, where is that laid out so we can all see that if we want to? So that's one. The other one is who ultimately decides to have these meetings? Since this is another special meeting, I think I addressed that recently. I don't expect y'all to remember, but some of us are concerned by all these special meetings that pop up at random, what seems like random times. We get very little notice. I understand there's a legal requirement and that I'm sure is being met. But in terms of us being able to learn and stay on top of what our commissioners are doing to run our county with our taxpaying dollars, that's of greater concern to us. So we want to know who ultimately decides to have these meetings and what's that process look like? And is it spelled out anywhere in print, or is it looser? So we kind of want to dig into that. We want to know how that works, because it seems to us that more meetings are happening than ever before. And then where can I find all the rules, bylaws, procedural descriptions of your roles as commissioners, including the chair, the admin, the clerk, et cetera? And it could be right in front of me. You might answer all these questions with do your own due diligence. It's all on the website. And I appreciate that. If that's the answer, that's fine. But I wanted to ask, and I'm not referring to Robert's Rules of Order, though I do appreciate the chair's efforts recently in directing me to that. I think a lot of us in the room have multiple copies of that body of work. So, and that's it. That's what I was asking about. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment this morning? Yes, Beth.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township, and more than ever, we need one ballot, one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. And there's a great opportunity and no fraud. And what we see is lots of ballots everywhere and much fraud in the elections all across the country, not just Leelanau County, but I would say Leelanau is involved with it too. Maybe not knowingly, but this stuff is tenacious. And what it makes us is slaves. Just like in Egypt, when the people were slaves in Egypt and 400 years of slavery. There's a movie now, Let My People Go. You go to letmypeoplego.movie and you'll find it. And it should be required reading for all board members and all clerks and anyone, basically everyone in Leelanau County should see this movie because it thoroughly covers all the fraud. They say there's no fraud. Election deniers. Well, go to that movie. There's a trailer there at Let My People Go. It's like 3 minutes. You can see that. The movie is just $10 to see this 2-hour and 17-minute movie. It covers 5 basic areas. Starting with e-poll books, claim. They're online. I believe they have to be online. So you've got communication throughout. They say they're safe even without voter ID. Well, we do watch voter ID, but not everyone does. No internet connection, they say, and no remote access capability. Goes on, I'll just introduce the other areas and then cover them more in the 5 minutes at the end. But we're slaves. That's what we are if we don't have an honest vote. And this movie clearly shows that we don't have honest voting. It's not that the election workers think they're doing anything wrong, but just the system is corrupt in itself. The other areas are ballot and marker claims, goes into the bulk or the The felt tipped ones, tabulator claims, data delivery claims, and compliance claims. And I'll cover them more in the last 5 minutes. Thanks for your consideration. Let my people go movie.
Any other public comment this morning? Well, thank you for attending, and at the end we'll have another public comment opportunity. Any commissioner comments? Kramer.
Thanks, Ted. I just wanted to talk about a few things that I've been seeing in the last couple of weeks. That have really frankly disturbed me, one of which Ty and Deb, you're both aware of, which was the meeting with Grand Traverse County. I believe that the board approved a letter. That was supposed to go to Grand Traverse County in respect to the interlocal agreement and their potential breaking of that. We approved the letter. I don't believe we approved Grand Traverse County coming to Leelanau County to deliver that letter. Also, as the only board member here who sits on the Beta board, being denied access to that meeting is a huge red flag for me. What is happening in that meeting that can't be transparent to Beta? What is taking place? Are we micromanaging them? Because each of us have a role here on this board to serve on other boards, to communicate what's happening on those boards to the county. That's our responsibility. You denied me my responsibility to my constituents, to my county, to my board, all of those things. And I'm not sure why or what that says. And it's really disturbing to me. Then I also was interested because what are we paying for this? What are we paying outside of the retainer for legal counsel to address these matters that I have told you since the beginning that this was a conflict of interest? No one had been listening to me at all. I feel like I constantly get a pat on the head, like I'm a little kid, and hey, move along. So then I went to go check out the invoices from legal. Past February, I see black marks over every single, anything that's outside of the retainer. I have no idea what we're paying for. I need to see those documents. Those documents, as far as I'm concerned, and I have been told, should be available to all of us. Why are they not available to all of us? And I also just want to really reiterate to all of you, because as an entrepreneur myself who's starting their own business, which I know is completely different than county government, but I always make sure that I put the subject matter experts in the seat with me. I understand and realize as a leader that I am not the be all and end all. I make sure that I constantly am checking in and I'm talking with them because I don't have all of the answers, and neither do either of you. And it's up to you as leaders to make sure that we are all being heard, because that's why we have seats on this board. So I'm hoping that as we move forward, I see leadership from leadership, because I can't sit here and feel like there's no reason for me to be here. And I'm sure that that's the way that a lot of employees are also feeling, because if I was not an elected official, I would jump ship too. This is ridiculous. This is all of us. We are a team, whether we get along or we know that we will vote the same way every single time. We have to start seeing this as a team. We work together. We don't just go ahead and do whatever we want because we have the power and ability to do so. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comment?
I would follow that. Good job.
Thank you. I have one, just, the question was raised about some information, and our administrator does take note of those questions, and I see here that Laurel has already provided you with something in response to your question, but when you have questions, we don't always answer them in our ask the public comment, but you will get a follow-up. Thank you. We do now go down to our agenda, and it's a special meeting, and we cannot add to a special meeting agenda, but we can remove, and we'd like to remove the approval of minutes because at the request of the clerk, it's been a busy week, and COVID played a part in that. And then we are not ready on item number 5 on the broadband project, and we are taking that off until next year.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you. We now approve accounts payable, and we have our interim finance director here. Thank you, Kathy. and
Yes.
Thank you, Jen, for the work getting ready for this meeting.
So you have, I provided her copies as well. I know that they were emailed to you, but they were on your desk when you arrived. If anyone has any questions regarding claims and accounts detail for today, these are some of the final invoices for 2023. We will continue to pay some 2023 invoices in January, February, sometimes into March, and we put them back into the year. But these are things that were due, and they're in front of you now. Any questions?
I did have one, I don't remember, I'm sorry, I think it was in late, but I'm not positive, but it was ID badges for the health department workers to come in and out of the building.
It's the scanning thing. It's the box that you take your badge and you,
$600 and some, if I remember right.
yeah, that's for two. It's for the doors.
Okay, so is that going to be billed back to the health department?
Well, that was an item of discussion.
Right, because this was dropped off in the, so that was dropped from your original project of it being put together. That was excluded. So the outside area to allow access to the room was excluded from your bid and in your project. So I had Kathy put it under the Capitol building as just an office and operating expense. We had to do the same thing when we moved the accounting department over and did veterans right here. That also was something that the concept of being able to unlock the doors is something that was missed. And so we, again, just put that to the building fund as a supply, something that has to be there to gain access to the room. Yes, it stays on the wall.
Always just the box itself and not.
Correct.
the doors.
Correct. Yep.
All right, we all saw the jackets, so I went over this morning and asked the sheriff about the jackets. I was going to wear one into the meeting. I said, can I wear one into the meeting? They're pretty cool. He explained the purpose of them, and they're really pretty cool. So if you get an opportunity to have one of the deputies shown to you, they can explain to you how they work and why he needed to go to them. So that was understood. Okay, there was a lot of the attorney, the indigent, there's a lot of those. And I know, I mean, as you read them, I think, wow, there's a lot of indigent. A lot of those have to, so how many indigents like are there? Does like Mr. Jarbo know, is there like 6 and all these are for 6 people or 12 people or 2 people?
You mean the attorneys that he uses?
I
Or-
think the attorneys, we
Yeah.
have the attorney names, but they've got to be repeat, because a lot of them look like they're like $360 or, so is that a basic? And-
Yeah, it goes by case number, and then it can be district and circuit court cases, and they
so
can work both.
Are they, is it all for, 4 people or 400? I mean, how many?
Yeah, we could ask them to give us, we could ask them that you're requesting, just wondering how many there are in this last quarter. And that's typically because it's a state funded, there's a report that's done quarterly. So they're also trying to get their bills in before that end of quarter
Okay,
that they've been doing. So that's why you're seeing so many right before the end. They want to get their payment, and then that's how the fund operates as well with state reimbursement.
okay, so like Mr. Burdette, might have
Yeah.
worked with that client for 6 different times.
Right, and he could have, there could be 3 different account number, or 2 different account numbers. There could also be a family court for juvenile and also probate court, and then indigent. So there's that work is done by, I'm gonna say few attorneys, but over 3 departments, district, circuit, and family.
Any of the invoices that come through MIDC, every time the reporting is done, there's a balance with the attorneys, how much was spent, how many cases it was for, because under the new laws, the minute someone is picked up, they have to be contacted in so many hours. That's a set fee. Then there's the arraignment fee, and then depending where the case goes through the system, that is, and generally there's 2 to 3 attorneys that service this county, but sometimes due to conflicts or other things, we have to pull on the Traverse City pool also to do that. But there are reports that correspond with all of that.
Okay, yeah, there's a couple ones that looked pretty new.
Yeah, we can ask Katie to reach out to Katie and find out what they had to represent how many this last time.
And you're in contract with Paul Jarbo's office in Traverse City on indigent, and all of these invoices are presented to their office first, and they're vetted, and then they're sent to us. And so they don't come from the attorney directly to Leelanau County. They go through Jarbo's office first, and then Katie scans them and sends them to us to pay. So they meet the requirements of the contract. And we don't pay anything that we don't see Katie and Paul Jarbo have looked at
Okay.
for indigent.
And then my final comment, because I saw something in here too, and I was curious about an attorney bill, but I think it ended up being a different attorney, because there was something in the drain commissioner, and there was attorney fees, and they use a different attorney.
I
So-
believe the drain commissioner has used Cole Stoker and
For general here.
for
Mhm.
general services for
Okay.
his work here. And then he's also used Clark Hill.
For drains.
Okay. So I did go down and I did request and got the Cole Stoker invoices. And I know they are, you get them redacted. And so I want that practice changed, especially if we're getting a new executive secretary. Kathy, are you confidential?
I am confidential.
So I then now would just request that it be understood that the invoices go to finance, whoever our finance director is, and that they be kept confidential, but that obviously we have access to them. I've been reading them for a couple of months now, and these just go through, I think, the 13th. Or no, maybe it's the 6th. So anyway, oh no, yeah, these are only through this December 6th, so I don't see anything you were looking for in there, but if these are, and I will get those back, so. Finance needs original copies, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I guess you're just leaving me kind of confused here. So what are you redacting? What are you?
I am not redacting anything.
Who is doing that?
They are arriving to me redacted. And I believe in past practice has been that they are received in the administrator's office. They are redacted before they're turned into accounts payable or accounting. I believe maybe there has been a change with how they are coming, that there might be a duplicate that's already been redacted by the attorney's office. I'm not sure. I read that in an email. So there's 2 non-retainer invoices that come. One is detailed, one is redacted by the attorney's office. That's the one that account numbers are applied to and endorsed by the department head or the elected official that generated those non-retainer charges. And they come to my office redacted with the signatures. I have expressed protest. I appreciate your comments.
Yeah,
Sure. I can just tell you that past practice, way before I was administrator, has been to redact those documents in terms of the legal records, because there are oftentimes that relate to union issues, that relate to personnel issues, that, so if it is the board's decision to move forward with unredacting those, then I would prefer a motion to protect the staff as well. So, from that decision, thank you.
I suggest that we do that at our rules of order, at our organizational meeting.
Then I guess I still need more information.
Sure.
I mean, this is only just this morning. So before the next meeting, maybe a conversation with our attorney. If those documents are coming from him redacted, I understand. I'm sorry. Oh, no, but I need to understand the process, and I need to understand the reasoning, when it started, and why are we now saying something about it? I guess no one has ever had a problem with this before.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's necessarily that no one knew that this was happening before. And it wasn't past practice, in my understanding, to redact everything. Everything is now redacted. Not specific things, everything. I think there's a difference. That looks like at least we're trying to be transparent if we did some things, but everything, I mean, a giant black box that goes over the almost entire invoice just screams at me.
So we will add that to the organizational meeting and get some background and get some advice from attorneys and have a full discussion of that at our organizational meeting.
Good plan.
Anything else on approval of accounts payable before we have a motion?
Well, I would move to approve claims and accounts $194,278.04.
Or all those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
Amendment. I got it. Did you, are there anything that you want to go over while I scan this quickly? I was wondering about, the senior services, if I find it again quickly. Why so much, why such a change on senior services?
Are you looking
No.
at 23?
This is 020, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is,
Single page document.
and I did lay a hard copy on your desk for you,
Yep.
and it was emailed yesterday.
Okay.
We looked this over. The first couple items are things that you have already discussed, which was the overlay, and you approved the successor Director Lena to overlap with Director Messias when she was leaving. So that's the slight adjustment in overtime salaries, temp system or temp office assistant. And the non-worked holiday, the current director and no one in the office is subject to the 401A pension plan match. So we zeroed that out. That's something for employees that have been here much longer. So new hires don't get that. Then postage, of course, that is higher. That's just going to happen. They may have more newsletters that are going out, postage rate hikes. That's just typical. Then during 2023, the budget that the Director Messias, she had everything under contractual 801. And during mid-year, we helped that office reclass into separate line items so that they could be more specific with regard to their share care contract, unmet needs, personal care, respite, medication management, homemaking, medical transportation, and foot care.
April, just a side note, Kathy, just the history on that. April did prepare documents that were in requesting for her 2023 budget for these numbers to be established. That document did not make it into any budget meetings. Therefore, everything was left in contractual. So they came to us in April stating that their budget was way out of whack and what had happened, and they had the proof, but she and I weren't part of that. So we went ahead and we said, go ahead, start using your new numbers. We're going to rearrange what we can. And if we need to by end of year, we'll make that adjustment. What happened was, as Kathy was going to continue, in September, senior services met for August, and you approved 3 new contracts, I believe. And so in that regard, that was not budgeted. So us knowing to go in and to not correct, but to establish these are the numbers that you have approved for 24 and will be maintained going forward. Correct.
Perfect, okay. I knew we had done some changes, but I didn't realize it was that expensive.
Yeah.
Okay,
Commissioner Algar?
So, I need a little information again. What on attorney's fees? What is our retainer?
Okay, you are on 23-019 now. Are we done with 2320?
that's all I.
Oh, are we still on that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Just to do
Any
this
other
in order.
questions on 2303?
So in 19 then,
We'll approve both of them at once.
yeah.
And 2319 is a 2-pager. Okay.
So what is our monthly retainer for attorneys?
I believe, I don't know if Kathy's got the background, it's about 6,900 a month for the retainer fee. And then anything that's not falling within that retainer is what goes onto a non-retainer bill. That non-retainer bill then is separated by currently the executive assistant as to, for the information provided in the bill that's being redacted as to who that belongs to. So in the past, you've paid for the clerk who was having, let's say, had to hire an attorney for a CPL case. You have CDBG who needs an attorney and or for any work that they're doing in constructing of homes and such. You also have on your non-retainer paid for land bank or brownfield. That's a reimbursement from them. So that non-retainer bill is looked at and delineated by department. Each department within or fund has an allotment for a retainer, for an amount for attorney fees.
So on here, it says BOC. Previous budget 800, amended 32.8.
Yes, that is correct. So currently your bills have run through December 6th. I believe it was to tune of $29,000 for this year. And so we increased that anticipating there could be costs for December, but we weren't aware. So we gave you a little bit there.
So that's above the retainer.
Yes, all that was non-retainer billed.
So how did we do that?
That's,
I did the math. I don't, it wasn't completely accurate. It's like what, $20,000 to $30,000 over the retainer?
yes.
Yeah.
And that's why there's an amendment.
Above and beyond, and that's not for an entire fiscal year.
Correct.
Right.
It's not for the whole year?
We still
No,
have
we-
December's bill. It has not arrived. It won't until January and we'll book it back. So we've budgeted to absorb what we think it might be. It's an estimate.
So
But-
we need to, maybe should we talk about that in organization meeting too? So how would we approve? This extra? That's a lot of money.
Is that above and beyond what we usually have in a given year?
In the history,
It says
It's
previously
usually 800.
It was 800,
Mhm.
but what we amended to was 32,000.
Commissioner, Administrator Allen?
I think sometimes, the things that, we all can acknowledge, there's been quite a bit of activity this past year. And even things such as beta, our union negotiations, some of those other things, I'll have to sit with Kathy to determine what all at this point has been part of the retainer. Some of those things are not part of the retainer if they're outside of the normal monthly fees. So Kathy and I will do some research on that, and then we can also look at, process. And if it's now the board has someone that reports directly to them, if that's gonna be part of the finance piece, we can come up with a plan for that.
Well, I would like to understand that more later.
Yes.
It might be helpful to distribute a copy of the retainer agreement to the board members so you can see what is delineated as fees and services included in a retainer, and what then you know what isn't. So
I think you talked to check Janet and find out what the process was prior to that.
We will add this to the organization meeting. I did, at the request of one commissioner, reach out to Matt and ask him if we were spending more this year than in previous years. And he did not believe so, but I don't take that to the bank, but I think we ought to.
But he will. Why would you ask him?
Please, please. I have the floor, Commissioner Kramer.
I'm just having a hard time because I can't see the facts.
I understand, and that is why I had said that I think we need to reach that out, get the information and bring it to the organization meeting. But I wanted to let you know that I had contacted Matt. I asked him about reactions and I asked him about the amount of billings. And I think that's a legitimate question, and I think that ought to come to the organization meeting when we have this on the budget. But I would appreciate not being interrupted when I'm talking, and I will extend the same courtesy with you.
I don't believe so,
I-
because I was
I-
gagged
you
and
are
not
not
allowed to talk.
Commissioner Kramer, I would ask you to be respectful. I'm looking for a motion to approve,
I would move to approve amendment number 23-019 and 23-020.
support.
support the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. We are,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. Darcy, we're here to look at the non-union pay scale. Could you give us just a little bit of a background on this?
Sure. The numbers you see in front of you are the numbers that we used in your 2024 budget process. The things that have changed, going down the list, the executive assistant was an hourly position in 2023. You approved it as a salaried position for 24. So those numbers have been updated to reflect what was approved during the budget process. The next change that you'll see is the IT director position was put in the pay scale. The IT technician position was taken out. I don't think there were any other real changes. It was more of a structural organization of the positions. So you have your directors and those type of appointed positions at the top, your elected, mandated, contracted positions in the center, court employees at the bottom.
Yes, Commissioner Olger.
So one thing that jumps out at me is a senior services director who runs a department with $1 million budget and has 3 people reporting to her, has the same salary as the human resources director and the IT director, who have no one reporting to them. And they do a singular job, an important one. But the senior services director who runs a department is not compensated at the level of other department heads. And that's bothered me for a long time. I think this is glaring, and I believe that we should make that salary equal to other department heads. For instance, the planning director. That's 74,197. The finance director also has people reporting to her and makes that salary. So I would move that the senior services director be compensated at the level of other department heads in this county at $74,197.31 for his starting salary.
I don't, see a second for that motion.
And I really believe this is,
I wanted to have a clarification. I'm gonna bring us back to budget talks. And we were talking about making the temporary office, I'm sorry, the executive assistant position salary. And that person has done Parks and Recreation. So there was a lot of discussion on whether we leave it hourly, we go to salary. And it was my understanding, and the questions I asked at budget and since budget, that Parks and Recreation would still be handled by the executive assistant since we raised it up to that salary position. So I was just looking for clarification from this board that it is our understanding that the executive assistant would still do the administration, say, of the parks.
That is how I remember that conversation going at the budget talks. That's all I can say that I have a recollection of that being discussed when we made that change, but that's just, I have to go back and look at minutes and be for sure that's my memory, what we just stated, that was part of that discussion.
What I can share with you is at the time that discussion, we were looking at a particular individual with a skill set, which of course would be Laurel. Laurel is no longer in that position. And we've had some changes also with Parks and Rec, with the Planning Commission, Planning Department. And it seemed to make sense because Parks and Rec has a planning component that's required to be submitted to the state for funding, that would probably be a more appropriate responsibility for the planning director or the planning department. So we had moved in that direction to see if that could be done, but nothing has formally been confirmed because we are still looking for a planning director. So definitely there have been changes. I think I would say too that the scope of the position for the executive assistant, this is the individual that provides a lot of the documentation and support, contract renewal, and a lot of those things that report directly to the board. And so the initial intent was to bring that position up to what is equivalent to other, say, deputy clerk positions within the county administration. So it was to acknowledge the responsibility, the roles of that position, to bring it to salary, as well as the request for support at evening meetings and other meetings. So that was the justification for the salary, as well as the support, the technical support that the administrative assistant provided for Parks and Rec. That person has never done minutes or that sort of thing for that committee. So just to kind of let you know, that was the initial suggestion or recommendation.
I guess in the first place, to be the administrator for Parks and Rec is not a large lift. Okay, where Parks and Rec needed assistance was Parks and Rec would do something like a motion that would need to go to executive board and the ball would get dropped and that motion would never make it to executive board. And therefore that would never make it to regular board and we were losing a month and we weren't getting projects done. So in the meantime, Parks and Rec did hire and pay for a minute taker. So we're paying more already for a minute taker in parks. So I guess the question is, I guess my point is, and clarification is, we need to decide who parks is going to fall under. As a board of commissioners, that is our decision. And respectfully, I see no sense in putting one more thing on the planning director. in the first place, right now, we don't have a planning director. So we're going to have someone new in that position. Whether it's somebody new from out of this county or somebody new from in this county or somebody new internally, we're gonna have a new person. So we've got planning that is already doing our county CIP. They're already doing the planning commission. They're already doing mapping. They're already doing housing. They're already doing our waste management plan. They're already doing our recycling program and all of those contracts and household hazardous. And I'm probably dropping some of the remonumentation. That department has ended up being a catch-all. And to put parks on top of it, I just really hope we don't do that. What would make more sense to me is, you know, is there another department within the county that would easily take this on? Actually, maintenance makes a whole lot more sense to me, since they're so heavily involved in our parks. Or perhaps we've got a new HR person coming in, maybe they are going to have some kind of background or experience in this. But I think we need to.
Could I ask for maybe some advice from the commissioners, because I don't believe this is on our agenda, and this is a special
Well,
session.
that, like I said, that was gonna be my point. I mean, we're really talking about dollars for
We're just
positions,
approving.
and I don't
Okay.
disagree with Commissioner Lautner's points. I'm actually agree with what she's saying, but I don't think this is the place to be discussing. We actually just trying to get this number thing that we have in our, already put in our budget approved.
Right.
But I agree with that discussion moving forward, just not today.
Okay, so do we leave this as salary then? Or do we go back to an hourly position if it's not going to do parks? Leave it salary for
We've already
now?
voted on it.
We already voted on it. That's.
Well, I just wanted, but, so we raise it up 9,000 and they're not going to do parks, or we raise it up 9,000 and pay someone else to do parks on top of that? So just, somebody has to do parks, and we just,
Commissioner Ross.
I guess I wanna honor the process that we as a board and as a staff collaboratively have agreed upon. These numbers and a lot of people have worked really, really hard to make this work. I think we're nitpicking it, and I think we are inappropriately using hindsight to make changes. I wanna respect the work that's been done by our staff and by the finance or the personnel committee to get these in place and go forward, and then say for next year, when these all come up, we have another opportunity to make some changes. But I think at this point, it would be disrespectful for all the work that we have put into this, and we had ample opportunity to voice concerns about this months ago. So
Okay,
I
well,
know
that
that we,
is-
no, I'm talking, Melinda, I'm talking.
oh,
So-
we're done.
No, we approved this at our personnel committee, so when you also approved this.
No.
I believe we did, we approved it to go to this meeting for the whole board to approve. So again, I just think we're getting bogged down on these processes, and it's really taken a lot of our staff time and our personal, our time as board commissioners to kind of redo and rethink it every time we decide there's something wrong. I'm not saying this is perfect, nothing is, but we have to get this business of the county moving forward and let these people do their job. I guess I'm just getting really frustrated that we do and then we redo and then we reset, you know, and it's so easy to say in hindsight that we made a mistake. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't always strive to be better, but I think we have to respect the process that allows us to do that in a way that's fair to everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Rourke, and then Commissioner Lautner.
Yes, I make a motion that we approve the 2024 proposed non-union wage schedule, which adds 3.25 to the base.
Support.
Call the vote.
Discussion.
I offer amendment to that motion. My amendment would be that includes Parks and Recreation Administration being handled under the executive assistant position.
see a second. It's been, I don't see a second for the call to question, though, and it was, is there a question?
If I may speak to that then, because this is what I.
Let's first see if there's a second to the call to question. Okay, it's been moved and seconded further. Let's have a roll call vote on that, please.
We're
Calling
having
the
a roll
question.
call vote on to call the question.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner O'Rourke,
No.
Commissioner Rexroth,
This is just,
this is to call the question which ceases discussion.
isn't that what we just?
Just
moved
call the
for?
question.
All right. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was confused.
Feel confident.
I like the look, guys. Thank you.
So I'm a
Wait,
yes.
we have to tell you how to vote.
You know, I just,
Yeah.
never mind, I don't want to upset anybody.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, is O'Rourke a yes or a no?
It's a yes. Let's put this to bed.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
yes.
Commissioner Alguier,
No.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner.
No.
I think we have 2/3 to call the question,
Still,
correct?
Well, 2/3 is five, I think, isn't it?
I think there were 5 yeses.
There were 5
Yep.
yeses.
So all those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 5-2. Thank you. We have a approved proposed non-union wage schedule. And we will also continue to look at that over the next year. Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, thank you. So for clarification, and I want to make this very clear to Commissioner Ross, I do respect all the work put into this, and I think you missed my point entirely. And you brought up, you actually proved my very point. We did talk about Parks and Rec being under that position. That's all part of the process. So we are respecting that process. You're exactly right. So what we need is that clarification. So we can bring that back to organizational meetings, because we've got some other positions to talk about too. Rather than just all this cross willy-nilly scampering around, putting stuff in places.
Commissioner Ross?
Process also includes having our administrator just make some decisions for staffing, and that is also part of the respect that we need to show from this board, that we need to hire people that we believe are gonna have the best intentions for our county, let them do their job, we confirm it, but we need to let them see the picture and see where their staffing, the staffing within this building should be. I believe that's in part of the process, so.
We approve that staffing level. We do that.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
just for the record, there's no other place on this whole sheet that park should be under planning. That's what planning does. Parks, all of it should be, and if we have to adjust the scale for it, whatever, but that's gonna be next year.
Stipend, okay, got it.
I hate stipends.
Well.
I think,
I need
we'll
one.
delay that. I think we'll delay
Just do a
that.
stipend.
I think we'll delay that decision, but I wanted to comment on what Commissioner Ross said. I do think sometimes we have a tendency to micromanage our administrator. And at some point, we need to trust that you can make the decisions that need to be made to get the job done. And I support that. We are now done with our agenda. Commissioner, okay.
So then I guess I need to add that I continue to be disappointed that a department that is typically female and is engaged in the care of our seniors continues to be valued less in terms of salary than other departments with the same responsibilities and scope.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else before we go to public comment? We're now at the, thank you for coming today, and we are now at our second public comment opportunity. If you would like to make public comment, please, yes.
I just like to thank Commissioner Kramer and Commissioner Lautner for being great stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. I appreciate you looking over things and just not, signing things away and, or making motions and just pushing it through. Okay, we have records that are being altered in our deeds, in a register of deeds. We have, actually, we have a lot of fraud going on there. We have voter records being altered. And now we have invoices that are the public records being redacted, blacked out. Why in the world would invoices need to be redacted or blacked out? That's a big red flag. And I thank you both for working together to reveal these records that are being concealed. I will be doing anything and everything I can for Commissioner Lautner to stand behind her and getting FOIA requests, because we have been denied, many of us have sent FOIA requests and we're being ignored. Those are our rights to have that information. And when it's constantly being redacted or blacked out or totally concealed and our FOIA requests are being ignored, we have a right to speak out. And I'm very upset that I was asked to be put on the agenda to talk about deed fraud in December. And I was told by the powers to be that I could not do that. In fact, we had Betsy Kofia come in and do a campaign speech. That's not okay. She spent 25 minutes with her campaign speech, and I, as a whistleblower that is revealing deed fraud, voter fraud, and we're looking at court records right now, cannot speak. I have investigations with DOJ, with the FHFA. In fact, I spoke to their attorney, the Inspector General of FHFA. That's the entity that oversees Fannie and Freddie Mac. And he says, the evidence that I've given him, it appears to be a racketeering scheme taking place in every Michigan register of deeds. Okay, so I have a right to speak about that, but my voice is being, nixed in favor of a politician who wants to come in here and do a campaign speech. So thank you both for being the adults in the room. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'll stand. Keith Badoon, Leelanau Township. I have to agree with what Renee said. I do appreciate you standing up against this redacted stuff. I think redacted is kind of like criminal. Criminals don't like to be, they wear a mask to hide things. So I think when you get all this redacted stuff, somebody is trying to hide something. So I agree that the redacted stuff, not for everybody's viewing, but again, bring it out. If there's something that's wrong, then bring it out, let it be dealt with. As far as the salaries and everything, all the money that goes to pay all these salaries comes from us. So I don't know if everybody in the county is like really happy to have their taxes go up so they can pay more salaries. But I would like that considered, that there's people out there, not myself, but there are people out there in this county that are living paycheck to paycheck. And to say, we want to pay extra because this person works hard, that person is not required to have that position. They volunteer to do this job. That's their business. We, on the other hand, the taxpayers, are kind of required to pay our taxes. So I would like some consideration for the taxpayers when it comes to paying the salaries. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Bridget?
Yep. Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. Again, we are slaves if we have no voice in the government. And we have no voice in the, without fraud, unless we go back to one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. I didn't bring the article, but I imagine a lot of you saw it. Maybe it's been mentioned, maybe I mentioned it, I forget. But there's a poll was taken of the mail-in ballot fraud. And it showed that 20% of the people having mail-in ballots admitted, confessed to having done fraudulent acts. So, can any of you explain how we can have mail-in ballots and not have these fraudulent things going on, like other people filling it out, possibly signing it, all those things? So we do have fraud in Leelanau County. This goes out throughout the country. This was, I believe, a nationwide poll. And that's why they went to the COVID thing to get this big problem that we have to solve with mail-in ballots. And that's what how they're doing the fraud. So if we have mail-in ballots, I don't care how you do it, how careful you are, we're going to have fraud in our Leelanau County. So we're calling on you to defend, to be interpositioning between the fraud out there and the people that you represent, and do everything you can to vote against these opportunities for fraud. Secretary of State has broken 5 rules. I've covered that in the past. One of them was taking in any ballots after 8 o'clock. Well, that pretty much swung the 2020 election when the trucks came in at 3 to 5 in the morning. So consider that. We've got to get rid of the mail-in ballots. If we have them in our next elections, we will have up to 20% fraud right there. Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, here it says, it's an article from December 27th, Georgia election officials declined to defend voting machines. Well, wait, he just spent $100 million of Georgian taxpayer funds to get all new Dominion machines. He's a Republican too. This is not a Democrat-Republican thing. This is a uniparty who's tied into this system of making us slaves. You have an opportunity to stand up. Here's what it says about this Georgia Secretary of State refusing to testify. Last month, U.S. District Judge Amy Totenberg ruled that a lawsuit against Georgia's use of electronic voting machines must go to a non-jury trial in January. She ordered Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to defend the state's utilization of electronic voting system to the upcoming presidential primary election because the lawsuit questions whether Georgia's current system of computerized voting is safe and whether it is vulnerable to hacking. However, the state spending taxpayer money is now appealing to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to keep Raffensperger from testifying. Says one lawyer that the case, Raffensperger selected the system, repeatedly defends the system as secure, but now can't take an hour or so to defend it in federal court. So that's what we've got. This is all a big scam, this voting system stuff. Our county has plenty of individuals that can count the votes. And this is the last article. And I'll have to go to that movie, but do see that movie and order it. Let My People Go movie. You'll see all the different fraud exposed. But in Taiwan, they have completely transparent systems. Taiwan's vote counting system is a process where poll workers hold up each ballot and call out the name of the candidate selected. It is all open to the public. Everybody's allowed to watch it. Why don't we do it? Why don't we trust the citizens in this county to be able to count votes? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Harry Steffens, Leelanau County Precinct Delegate. I'm sorry, Leland Township Precinct Delegate. I wanted to follow Bill this morning because Bill's been diligent for at least a couple of years now, coming in here and it's telling you guys what is going on with these voting machines. Okay. I've been in here, I've said a number of things, I've showed you some evidence. I'm asking you to look at the bigger picture. For example, the Netherlands. The Netherlands, they asked the Leelanau team, what can we do about these voting machines? And the Leelanau team said, take those machines and throw them in the ocean. So that's what they did. They took the machines and throw them in the ocean. And then they went to paper ballots, hand counted, and now they've got safe, fair elections again. So what I want, and this is the reason I wanted to speak today, because we're on it, what, coming up on 3 years now since the 2020 election. What I want is I want to see next year, I want to see you guys do something about this. I want to see you guys have a hearing, ask the people. There's like 70% of the American people are behind Donald Trump. Donald Trump knows better than any of us that the machines are rigged. So that tells me that 70% roughly of the American people want to get rid of these machines. And I'm guessing that there's probably at least 70% of the people here in Leelanau County that want to get rid of these machines. So I'm asking you, since you're supposed to be our representatives and working for us, I'm asking you, do something about this thing. If I need to get a petition together, tell me how to do that. We tried that. We went out and got you, I don't know, 100, 200 signatures in a couple of days to get rid of these machines. And what happened with that petition? I ain't heard nothing. Did we do the process wrong? I don't know. Maybe you can help me. But anyway, please, for next year, get this thing on the agenda and do something about these darn machines. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Didn't do this before. Carrie Onan, Centerville Township. Again, Merry Christmas to every one of you. Happy New Year. I've got a couple questions. Where will we view the answers to Commissioner Lautner's questions today regarding indigents in our county, including how many are in our county and all the monies that we're paying for them? Okay, that's one thing. So I need somebody to tell me again about where to go for that. And the next one is, this might already actually be in my inbox, but some of us would like a copy of the one page our clerk was reviewing with the board today. So that's real important. We would like to see that. So, and in regards to so many of the comments today that went back and forth about redacted information and transparency in general, I do echo both the commissioners and the public's concern for transparency. You know that if you heard any of my prior comments. So that's a big concern. It's not going to go away. And no amount of respect for the process is going to stop us from being concerned. So that's a good narrative. We've heard it a long time now on the federal, the state, and now the local level. We're hearing that narrative. We don't buy it. It's not doing a thing for us. We want details. We want transparency. I really appreciate Commissioner Kramer going to the lengths she did today to put that forward. And we would like details. So what you all discussed about that was pretty much a mystery to most of us back here. We didn't know what the details were. We certainly got the gist of it. So we want details on that. We're expecting to see details. We pay you. We pay everyone that Commissioner Alguier and all of us are interested in respecting. Yes, I'm a big believer. If you can't tell, I believe in respecting everybody. I don't care how much they disagree with me. I expect respect, and I believe in respecting people. That doesn't mean we pay them. If we pay them and without respecting the needs and desires of the people that are paying them, that makes absolutely no sense. And you are directly showing disrespect to the people that put you in that seat. So I ask you to remember that, because we're going to keep reminding you, and it's just going to become more of us saying the same thing over and over. For the record, I didn't want to step on either of the last two gentlemen. I'm very interested in going that route as far as hand counted paper ballots, 1-day voting. So that's not going to go away either, everybody. It's not. There's a growing number of people. I don't know the stats. I don't know if it's 70%. It may be. But the point is, more and more people are waking up to what human nature does all the time. And it didn't start with machines, but it exponentially accelerated with machines. And it also gave opportunities to people that are outside of our country, sitting in a hotel room, the opportunity to commit fraud. We know the narrative that machines are protected from that very thing, and we all have laptops. This county alone has experienced constant cyber attacks. We've heard the reports over a year ago. We know it's out there. Cyber experts know that all they're doing is playing whack-a-mole. They get hit, they, as quickly as possible, minimize the damage. And that's the way the cyber world operates. Well, our election machines are on a protected system, which sounds really good and makes us all feel good, but we're not being patted on the head much longer on that one either. But right now, what we can do has more to do with the monies and what you all covered today. And I appreciate your time. And I do hear the frustration of being bogged down by the process, but we will not be disrespected by the notion that, hey, everybody shut up, let's respect the process. And I'm also not interested in those of you that seem to have a desire to give more and more power and authority to unelected positions. That's an unelected position. I respect her very much. I think she knows that. And I'm grateful for everything that's been, all the help we've been given already on that. But it's still an unelected position. We need as much respect as possible from each one of you in the actions and the daily votes and the daily motions that say to us, hey, we're concerned about your bottom line, because some of us are living paycheck to paycheck, regardless of appearances. So I thank you very much. Thank you. Happy New Year. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Other public comment? Thank you for. Yes, Clerk Crocker.
Thank you all for serving and being commissioners. To the new ones, it's not probably what you expected. It's a little bit different. Just two things I wanted to touch on quickly is I always hear what the speakers, all of them, say about voting. I take it to heart, but we do have to remember there was a constitutional amendment voted on by the people of the state of Michigan. So much to everyone's dismay, I went from having 4 voting days in 2024 to I now will have 31, because 3 of those 4 dates will have early votings, which is 9 days. So it is what it is. It's illegal for me to hand count ballots. We do hand count ballots when we do audits. We're doing an audit today, so we will be hand counting that from November. A different note, and I could send you all an email. I would have no issue doing that, but since I have all 7 of you in front of me, as you go into your organizational meeting next week, I would ask that you give some consideration to this committee system you've set up. It is, of course, your choice, but I don't like divide and conquer. I don't like it. I don't like that my commissioner doesn't have access to everything others have when they form other committees. All 7 of you were elected. All 7 of you get to vote. We will be there to take meetings, as many as you want, but you are pushing the meeting threshold. the last 3 years, the amount of meetings this Board of Commissioners has had is pretty much excessive, and it does show signs potentially of other problems. But if you're going to have a committee system, you should follow the process, which is these subcommittees goes to the executive and then the executive to the board. It's not directly from committee to the board because all 7 of you and my commissioner is being left out when that doesn't happen and the process is jump. But I do see it a little bit as a divide and conquer. So anyway, I do appreciate everything you do. Just my 2 cents for something to think about for next week.
Thank you. Yes.
Eric Lynn, Suttons Bay Township. I agree with Michelle Crocker. This new committee structure. It seems we have 2 commissioners now making decisions because they're in the committee. Majority is 2. Pass it on to the executive committee and on to the board. It's rubber stamped both times. It also, like she said, increases the number of meetings. And I, as a concerned citizen, I can't attend all those meetings. Just isn't gonna work. So I don't agree with the new system. And obviously it isn't working because we got a whole lot of empty spots.
Thank you.
So,
Any other public comment? Thank you for coming today. Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Russ?
Yes, I'd like to invite everybody in this room and talk to all your friends. You can run for an office, you can run at your township, your school board, at your county level, at the state level. I encourage you with your passion to do something with it and don't just complain. I also want everybody in this room to join your township clerk when they offer you the opportunity to come in, verify the process, ask a gazillion questions of your township clerk about the safety and the integrity of our elections. I cannot do anything about somebody sitting on a computer in whatever country, but I do know my clerk extremely well. Beth Childs is the most ethical person I know, and I trust her completely. Lisa Brookfield in Leland Township is another a stellar employee. If you don't know your township clerk, don't come to me and tell me that our elections are rigged. Don't come to me because my elected officials who I have put in office are working very hard for me and for all of us. And it is very disrespectful to tell me that they aren't doing their job. Can we control what's going on at a national level? I'm a county commissioner. I cannot, other than voting for who I feel will represent me at that level. But please, when you come to us with information about something we can do something about. And that is at your township level and then at the clerk level here at the county. If you have any questions about the integrity of our elections, you have all the resources right in front of you. Please use them.
I'd like to congratulate Clerk Crocker for the understatement of the year. As new commissioner isn't quite what I expected, so I think that may be the understatement of the century. It's been quite a year, and I'd like to just say that my experience here, we all staff people disagree with how to get things done. They disagree with each other's things, but I haven't run into anyone, staff, commissioners here, everyone who doesn't have what they think is the right thing for Leelanau County in mind. I don't know of anyone who, and that's right down to every single staff member I've been involved with, all the commissioners, everybody who works in this building. I'd like to thank all of you for what you do. And I do appreciate, the things that bother me is the attacks on personality, because it's unwarranted. We have good people trying to do the right thing, and we should work together and have a great next year. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Commissioner Elgare.
Ms. Weiler is not here, but I'd like to remind everybody that the Register of Deeds office, there is a wonderful computer program that anytime your deed is accessed for any reason at all, you will get notified. It's very simple. It's very effective. can't remember the transaction we did, but somehow it brushed up against our deed somehow, and I got an email. So, it's simple to do, just call the Register of Deeds, they'll tell you how to implement that. And then you can rest assured that your properties are secure. And I'd like to thank everyone for working together this year. It has been refreshing. I love the fact that we compromise, that we hear each other, and that we're getting things done for the people of this county. And yes, I will reiterate, I have been an election challenger for years. That process is so squeaky clean. And they are so careful and so dedicated. And if you were there and watched the whole thing, you would understand. So thank you to the clerk's office for what you all do and protecting our votes.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Rourke.
Well, first of all, I want to promise to try to work better with everybody. And last year was it's a learning process. I will not be here in 2025, but I am going to bring and attempt a major change to raise the wages of the county commissioners. There's nobody in this room that has spent more time working for the government or liberty than me. These people are getting paid $5,000 a year. Grand Traverse is getting $12,000. We haven't had a raise since 1993. Sure, you want to do it for the good of your country, the good of the order, but there's a lot of work here, all these new committees. You get an email, you go home, and then you said, there's one commissioner told me that it wasn't worth $40,000 a year to be here. So I'm going to bring some figures, and Republican friends here are probably going to hate me for saying this, but we need a raise, and instead of $40 a meeting, it's $65. Before you come to the meeting, there's a lot of work that you got to do and research. And the bottom line, I'm going to make the motion. I'm not going to be here in 25, so it's up to you 6 people to decide whether or not you're actually getting paid for what you're supposed to. And also, I would like to introduce Lori Eubanks, our new temporary assistant. She's going to be the most important person in our whole board right here, because when we call the office, she's going to be directing and helping and took on a pretty big job. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what, we should also thank Darcy for her service. And Laurel, I know she's listening. Both of you, thank you for your service. Thank you for being with us.
Absolutely.
And enjoy your new horizons.
Other commissioner comments, Commissioner Leonard.
I hardly know where to begin. I agree with a whole lot of what was said, because I've got a lot of concerns. I live 20 miles from the courthouse, so I can't be in the courthouse. And yet I know many of my commissioners that have time perhaps or live closer are in the courthouse a lot. So I depend on phone calls. I know we're busy, but waited a week for a phone call back from our administrator last week, and I called again yesterday to apologize for not getting back with me. Communication is key. When I don't get calls back, my blood pressure seems to go up, and a lot of stuff on the table. So we've got issues. We do need to, I think our organizational meeting, I mean, everybody put your, I was going to say big girl panties on, put on whatever you want. But we got some work to do at our organizational meeting, and I hope that we are serious about working together and working on transparency and working on all of us getting the same information. I agree with Commissioner Kramer on being cut out from a meeting that involved her board. If we're going to serve on boards, we need to know what's going on. I respect the public. come and speak at public comment. I am not going to bully you. You don't have to run for office to have a voice. Do you want to run for office? That's fine. But many don't want to, and that's what we're here for. So you talk about disrespectful. That's very disrespectful to bully our public comment. I understand the issue of the voter fraud, and I think our public has tried to make it clear. They fully respect our clerk, and we know our clerk runs excellent elections. We respect all of our township clerks. They run clean elections. If anybody has listened to the public comment, the question in question is what anyone can tell me I'm wrong. It's the machines that they have questions with, not our clerks. Our clerks are very, they're excellent clerks. So I hope 2024 goes better. I hope we can work through some of these issues. But it is going to start with respect, and it's got to start with communication. And I hope everybody has a happy new year.
Thank you, Kramer.
I also would like to echo, actually.
On the table.
You know.
All right.
I disagree with you 110%. Like, do I think there is voting fraud? Absolutely not. Is it my job to listen to you while you're here? It is. And I don't have to agree with you to listen. And I think that is our job. That is our job. You could tell me that there's a unicorn problem in Lake Leelanau, and I would listen, okay? That's what we're here for. And that's what leadership is. We don't have to agree. We do have to listen. And we have to include, and we have to be transparent. These are all things that any system, not just a governmental system, a business, a family structure, all of these systems deserve these qualities. Or we have a mass exodus like we've been seeing with key players in this building leaving, retiring early. We have issues here. I feel like in a lot of ways that we are literally on the Titanic, and there are certain board members who are sitting there being the musicians and playing the same old song as we're all going down. And I don't think that is how we tackle what the challenges that we're going to be faced with. I'm super excited to see what happens with this survey, this climate survey. And then I really ask that all of our commissioners take a good hard look at that data and do something about it. And that's all.
Thank you. I want to thank Kathy and Jen and Michelle and the finance team that put that together for today, and Darcy. And you're coming. You never switched. You still have public comment?
No, we went to commissioner comment.
Michelle came over here, public comment, and he never switched back. I had my hand up quite well. Sir, you come on up and we'll take your public comment.
One of the commissioners, my name is David Kiesel, delegate of Suns Bay Township, made a comment that she could do nothing about a computer overseas with our elections. Yes, she can, right here, one-day voting, paper ballots. You can, get behind it, okay? You people proved to us that this election was fair. Why should we prove it wasn't? You're working for us. You're supposed to protect us. We're the ones that voted to put you guys up there, okay? We depend on what you do, okay? So help us out.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, so I would like to take just a second and respond to Commissioner Kramer's concerns about the data, because I do want to make sure that everybody understands what transpired last week. We did have a closed session. You were in the closed session. I can't talk about what happened in there, but we came out of the closed session. And a motion was passed to have me write a letter to the Grand Traverse Administrator and the Grand Traverse Board Chair. I drafted that letter and sent it to each of you and with the administrator and asked for any feedback back by 12 noon on Friday. That letter was sent or was not sent. It was ready to be sent, and the news media had contacted the Grand Traverse Board. They let them know that the Leelanau County Commissioners had concern about their process of appointing commissioners. So we got a call, I got a call, Deb got a call from the the Grand Traverse Administrator asking for a meeting between Deb and I and Chairman Kinchel and me. That meeting took place before the letter was delivered to them. It was a letter between the board chair and the administrator. At that meeting, we were very frank with the concerns of the Leelanau Board of Commissioners concerned about Grand Traverse appointment processes. We shared the concerns about appointing two commissioners, asked them to consider a meeting with 3 Leelanau County Commissioners and 3 Grand Traverse Board of Commissioners, including Commissioner Kramer, Commissioner Lautner, and me, and Commissioner Henschel, Commissioner Jewett, and one other. And that was going to be our follow-up. We wanted a follow-up meeting, and we also said we wish you would delay in making the appointment. Nate Alder contacted Beta, said that they had agreed to delay the appointment process and go out and seek new candidates and ask for a 2-week delay from Beta. I told you everything that I know about that. It was not my meeting to invite Commissioner Kramer. It was not my meeting to invite Commissioner Kramer. It was a meeting that I was requested to be at by the Grand Traverse County, and I did that. I represented this board, and she would ask me to. I sent the letter that you had all seen before I sent it. I do know that Commissioner Kramer was unhappy with that. I also know if we would have invited Commissioner Kramer to that meeting, we would have had Commissioner Jewett at that meeting.
Yeah.
I didn't interrupt you when you were talking. I did the best that I did and as transparent as I could. You were communicated with along the way. Sometimes I'll make decisions you don't agree with, but I take offense at what I think was criticism unwarranted. That is my comment. I wish you all New Year's. Motion